My name is Jeremy Allen Gould, and this is the Who's to Say podcast. Being a lifelong music and art fan, I was lucky enough to book a lot of bands back in the day, and have been even more lucky to stay in contact with many of them. I grew up all over, and my love for music and art only intensified the older I got. This podcast are conversations with many artists in many different capacities. Thanks for stopping by, and I hope you enjoy what you hear. With that said, who's to say? Hi, this is Jeremy Allen Gould with the Who's to Say podcast. For this next episode, we welcome the super cool and super talented Eric Collins. I've known Eric for close to 25 years, from his pre-Denison Marrs days in the band Divine Child. His band, and the band that I managed at the time, Smell of Wonder, used to play shows in Florida in the late 90s quite a bit. From his expansive musical career with Denison Marrs, the Dark Romantics, the Party People, as well as his time in the influential band Starflyer 59, we discussed the past, the present, and the future. Eric is an unbelievably talented songwriter and an all-around badass. I believe he was very influential in the 90s Christian rock scene that some of us revere to this day. This conversation is long overdue, and I hope you enjoy the old stories as well as the new ones. With that said, Eric Collins, who's to say?
Eric.
Hey, what's up?
How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good, man. How's Lakeland treating you?
Oh, Lakeland, it's good. It's good and bad. It's a vortex. Beautiful. There's no escaping it.
Oh yeah, city of lakes, the
Love
lake,
it.
the land of lakes.
The land of lakes.
So you guys obviously just had the hurricane down there. How was that for you?
It was all good, man. It didn't do much. There's limbs everywhere in Lakeland, but it didn't do that much. There's a couple people had some stuff, but nothing like South Florida. It was just like annihilated. But yeah, it's all good for the most part up here, and we're good. Our house is good, family's good, and stuff.
That's awesome. Yeah, I reached out to Mark the other day to see how he's doing, and he said everything's cool on his part too. So
yeah, our main stuff was power outage and just being hot and stuff.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's all good.
yeah, awesome, man. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So you and I have known each other for a long time.
Long time.
I was trying to think the other day. I think it's like about 25 years. It seems like. I think it was like 97, probably.
Yeah.
98.
Yeah. That sounds right. 97,
And,
98.
Back in the.
Smell of Wonder.
Yes. Well. Yes. It's funny you say that because I hang with those guys quite a bit still, and they were an anomaly. They were one of those bands that were great that just never went anywhere, unfortunately.
Okay, so those guys are all such good, nice guys, and I'm friends with all of them. And when I see them, they're so gracious and kind, and always hugs and stuff. But they're still rock stars to me.
Really?
And yeah, I don't know why it's always hit me like that. Like they were like when we would come to Jacksonville to play with Smell of Wonder, I was just always in awe of them. Like they were so more advanced than we were with like their just everything, tones, sonics, and talent. You know what I mean? Like I would just stand there and be like, oh my god, I can't believe these guys let us play with them. And I still feel like they're still like in rock star level to me when I see
That's
them.
so cool.
I'm sure they're gonna hear that.
They probably
and
was
laugh.
like, what the hell?
Yeah, they're definitely going like, what are you talking about? But that's how I feel.
That's awesome. Yeah, I remember back in the day, I remember, I don't know why, I mean, this always sticks in my head, but I just vaguely, or not vaguely, I remember like we met up at like one of the malls in Jacksonville, and you were like, you gotta buy this record, and it was Failure. Fantastic Planet. And I was like, at the time, I was like, oh, I don't know, man. I was like into hardcore and, all that jazz. And I was like, I don't know. It was one of those, like, I remember buying it because on your recommendation. And then I was like, never really listened to it. And of course, 25 years later, it's like one of my favorite records of all time.
That is good. That's good news to hear. I thought you were gonna say I said something stupid about buying
No,
some clothes at the mall or something.
No, you opened the door that I should have walked through a long time ago.
Good. I'm proud of that memory. Then
Yes,
that worked
absolutely.
out. That worked out.
Yeah, man, and I think I think there was a couple. I know that you played in Jacksonville a lot with them, but I know they played down in Orlando or Lakeland. Maybe I don't know. Like, was there a town called Eustis or something? Or I don't remember the town. I don't know.
I've been here my whole life. I can't get there, but I know it's around.
Yeah, I feel like that's when I think they play. It was just one of those random like hole in the wall shows where there's like 30 youth kids, whatever.
We played so many of those.
I bet you did. But you know what? I will say, you guys had the coolest rig, and the fact that you had, the box car truck and the had the whole the bus in a box.
Oh, that thing broke down so much. It was so hot. Oh,
that's hysterical. I remember it would be hot.
Like, we built a fake wall in it, or no, it already had a fake wall, because I think we bought it from some missionaries or something from Carpenter's Home Church back then. So they had lived in it, something like that, and there's a fake wall in the back, so we could put all our gear there. And then on the other side of the wall is the main compartment, and we had I think we had a couch in there and a wall unit, fake wall. Not so dumb, dude, because inside the truck.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, just put it in the wall. It's good. But it's still going inside the truck. So then we had to put carbon monoxide detector in the truck, and it just kept going off constantly. And we're so stupid. We're like, oh, something must be wrong with it. we kept turning it off, and we're like, what is that smell? And we're getting real lightheaded.
Oh no,
idiots, dude. And dawned on us. We're like, crack the windows. Oh my God.
That's hysterical.
That truck was cool and like a death trap, and
I believe it. And at your age, it probably didn't make sense.
Oh yeah,
that's awesome.
And TV.
Oh, I know. I think you guys, if I remember correctly, I know you had a TV in there. You had a video game, like Nintendo or whatever in there. I remember you guys when I always thought it was so cool to look in there.
Poor man's tour bus, dude.
I just thought it was so awesome. I'd be like, I don't know. It was just so cool and, geeky at the same time. It was like,
oh yeah.
So
always breaking down.
Dude, I just recently, I forgot to tell you, I was at my parents' house a year or two ago, and I was going through all my merch, and I found a Divine Child hoodie that I had from back in the day.
Wait, is it the one with the people walking across the street or whatever? Yep. Yes, dude, I love that one.
I know. It's a size small, and there's no way I obviously couldn't,
Yes. I want a pic of you wearing it.
You don't want that. It's brutal. Awesome. So I know we've known each other for a while, but I want you, and I know you probably told us before, but just go ahead and tell me kind of how you got into music and all kind of your journey.
Cool, yeah. So I have musical parents and stuff. My mom, she knew how to play guitar forever, and she raised me on classic rock. And then she was also choir, like kids choir at church, kids choir director and stuff. But mainly just my whole life listen to classic rock with her, like Led Zeppelin and stuff. And we would jam before nap time. She'd buy me drum sets from Toys R Us and stuff, like the paperhead ones, and I'd break them in a week and stuff. Dad is he went to college for music and stuff, and he is a retired minister of music for Baptist churches. So while my mom's raising me on classic rock, he raised me on classical, Beethoven and all that stuff. So I always had music in the house. And I didn't start playing guitar until late teens, early 20s. There was always guitar and pianos and stuff, but I don't know. I got I think I was 11 or 12. I got into rap and hip hop and loved it. But I think that my favorite group was back then was Public Enemy And I mean, they were, you know how they use like samples, so heavy samples like Miles Davis and all this like saxophone noise and experimental stuff and everything. So like that's where I think my love of noise and stuff came from first, and then all the classic rock stuff, and then the rap and hip hop stuff is sampling classic rock and everything. So I'm hearing this mesh in my head is forming, I guess. So I finally, like, it was like end of high school. I'm getting into like grunge and alternative and everything, and I started like, you know, Mom, show me some guitar. I'm gonna check this out. And the first song, she's like, pick out a song, play it, and I'll show you how to play it. So I picked Cherub Rock, track 1 off of Siamese Dream, and she sat there and listened to it and like picks it out, open chords, and that was the first song I ever learned how to play. And my dad bought me, I think he went to like not Specs, he went to Spencer's in the Lincoln Square Mall, bought me like a guitar poster, like a guitar chord tablature poster. I remember just hung it on the back of my closet wall, and I would just sit on my bed and like learn where to put my fingers. And that's how I started writing songs, was just like, oh, this chord sounds cool, this other one. You know, I mean, they were terrible, but I was learning how to put stuff together. And from there, it was just kind of just listening to music and trying to figure out like arrangements and genres and stuff like that. But I think from classic rock and then like the noise from hip hop and stuff, I think that kind of steered me into alternative.
That's awesome.
Yeah. You know, in like back then, Nirvana and Pumpkins and everything, they were Pumpkins is kind of metal shoegaze, you know, so they're doing experimental stuff, and then Nirvana is grunge, but really when you listen to it, it's punk. It's like experimental punk almost, and there all kinds of noise and stuff. So I was like, I'm into that. I start messing around there, and then I remember going to Lakeland Square Mall. I don't know if you remember this, like the Christian bookstores where it was like family bookstores, whatever. Do you remember they'd have like the CDs section, and they'd always have a demo CD?
Oh yeah.
I don't know if I'm trying to remember how far back that goes. But I'd go in there and I'd just grab all these demo CDs, listen to stuff. And dude, I remember buying and listening to it and then buying it, Starflyer 59 Silver.
God, yes.
And I'd take it out to my car outside Lakeland Square Mall. I could take you to probably to the parking spot. It's outside the food court. And I pop it in, and it just starts, and I'm just like, what? Like this is Christian? Like these guys, this doesn't suck. Like, are you serious? You know what I mean? Like, what? Like, you know, like I was like, this sounds like Pumpkins, but without that whiny voice. You know what I mean? Like it was cool. And I love Pumpkins, so don't get me wrong, but I'm saying that launched me even further, and I'm just like, oh, what are all the, you know, pedals and all this stuff, and just really getting into it. And then that of course launches me into like Tooth and Nail catalog, and I mean that's pretty much it. From kid stuff straight into alternative.
Dude, first off, Cherub Rock is a freaking banger.
Yeah.
And what a great intro to guitar.
Yeah, right.
I've never played guitar, so I wouldn't know, but I know that riff is ridiculous. Dude, and secondly, Starflyer 59 Silver record, mind blowing. Yep. To this day, I listen to it once a month because it's unbelievable. It's an unbelievable record.
Yeah.
And you need to convince Jason to do a tour with it, because he probably would crush it.
Man, I think I'd try once a year.
I'm sure.
I'd try to wear him down, but it's saying no.
That's hilarious. Side note, my buddies and I, this is terrible, I'm admitting this, but back to the Christian bookstore where you have the demo. Do you remember those little stickers, the Diamante stickers?
Yeah.
Buy like 5 and you get 1 free. Well, my buddies and I, this is so crappy. We would like cut them out and like go in probably every couple weeks so we wouldn't get caught, and like exchange them in. And at the time we were like, it's kind of like stealing a Bible. It's really not a sin. Right. And so unfortunately we discovered a lot of amazing bands that way. But on the other side of it, we also discovered a lot of terrible bands because we didn't want to, spend the money the small amount of money that we had. So,
so you were still punished, let's say.
It's terrible. I probably didn't even repent from that sin, but
that's all right, man.
Yeah, I know. It was being young, I guess. So after that, I guess does that kind of when Divine Child started, or how did that come about?
Yeah. So that was like pretty soon after, because I'm like listening, all this new music, like blowing my mind, and I'm trying to figure out guitar and stuff. And then, so back then, there was like my surf buddies from church and school. They all kind of always came to this one house because it was like, it was Kyle Griner. You know Kyle?
Oh yeah, Kyle.
Yeah, so it was Kyle's house and his dad's house, but it was like the spot. Like everybody ended up there, so I would be hanging out there, and eventually that's where I met John Buckley, which is the drummer of Denison Marrs, Divine Child. And I find like he's just hanging out, and I didn't know him because he wasn't really one of the surf guys. He's just like from their church, whatever. And I only went to Carpenter's sometimes. So I'm like, oh, you play drums? I'm learning how to play guitar. I was like, we should jam. And he's like, yeah, let's do it. Because none of the other guys played at all. It was just surfing and skating, and that was it. So I remember going to his house, and he had like this old jazz kit because his uncle was a legit jazz drummer in a lounge up in Atlanta. And we started playing. It was terrible, but it was awesome. You know what I mean? Just to go in and like, we're actually making something out of nothing. And his little brother, Joe, was learning bass. We're like, well, dude, you're obviously the bass player, Yeah. And after we had played like, I don't even know, maybe a couple months, I was like, well, I got my buddy Daniel at school. He plays guitar and he could play lead or whatever. I'm like, yeah, bring him over. And from there, we started. We were a band, and I think we had booked our first show at Carpenter's home in the youth room,
which is probably massive.
Oh yeah, it was huge. And and I had this poster that my parents had bought me, I think from the Christian bookstore, and it had like, something like "you are" or something, and then it was like listed all these Christian words like with scripture references and stuff, and it was like different colors, and I remember just looking at the poster and I saw the word divine, and then over here it was like child of God or something. I'm like, divine child. So I was like, that's it, that's our name. It's terrible. I think it was like, we'll just use it and then we'll change it, but then we could never think of anything else, so it stuck. And that's Divine Child, man. Dude, I think our first show, so it was Carpenter's home. We played so long, so stupid when you think about it. It's like cringe, you know what I mean? Like, I think we played like 45 minutes, and then I think we did like 30-minute acoustic set, and then I think we played like another 45. Like, I mean, whoever showed up, because I remember there was people there, they were so wonderful, those people. That's awesome. Come sit there for that. Like, who did we think we were?
That's hysterical.
It's terrible songs. Like, I wish I could go back in time and be there and watch that. Oh, guys.
That's hysterical.
The worst thing ever.
Well, we got to start somewhere.
I guess. We started at the end.
Start at the end. So, what brought on the name change then?
Okay, so that was, we played a lot and recorded. We did like a little EP and pressed our own CDs and all that stuff. And this is actually kind of cool. Mike Lewis from Polar and all that, Love Not Least and everything. He came through, I don't know if he came through on a tour or he just came to town to, I think he came to see Dear Ephesus. And he's hanging with them, but they had already signed with, I guess it was Bulletproof or what, yeah. I can't remember who that was.
Yeah.
And they're out to dinner and he's like, well, they're like, but who you need to sign is our buddies. And he's like, who's this? And they tell him about us. and they give him a CD, and then he contacts us. He's like, I really like what I hear. I want to talk to you guys. I'm starting this new label, 6x6 Records, blah, blah, blah. And we were stoked. We were like, we did it. And I was, at that time, Mike he would probably be gracious about it. He's like, dude, you know, the name kind of is lame. We're like, we hate this name. I was like, now's the time to change it. And I go online, I'm just like, myself, and I start seeing like Church of the Divine Child and stuff, and it turns out it's like some weird cult. Oh. And I'm like, yes, that's our out. so we change the name, and then on our website or whatever, I'm like, we're changing our name because we found out it's a cult up in Midwest somewhere or something. We don't want to be associated. So that like worked out really good.
That's amazing. Who came up with the name?
Denison Marrs.
Yeah.
Yeah, we changed it to that. There was a old, like a rave underground boutique in Orlando, because back then, like late 90s, you know, Orlando was like super rave and like club culture stuff. So there was this old store called Denison Marrs, and I had a T-shirt from there. It was this cool T-shirt, and like they had wrote the name in like a graffiti font or something. And Joe, being Joe, he's like this funny, smart guy, and he's like, "What does that say, Denison Marrs?" And we're like we all just froze. We're like,
"That's it."
The band name, like
that's.
And we thought it was dumb because it sounded, you know, space rock, but yet it also kind of sounded like a dude's name, like Leonard Skinner or Led Zeppelin, but it wasn't a guy's name.
That's awesome.
We're like, this is so, you know, it was great to us at the time.
That's sick, dude. So I know you guys were obviously into Failure at the time. What bands were influencing you guys throughout Divine and Denison?
Pumpkins, definitely. Hum, definitely. Failure. You know, any of that late 90s. I don't know what you call that. I mean, it's space rock, but
yeah,
it's more on like the heavier, like Deftones, but not. Yeah. We didn't do rap stuff, but you know, like just the chords and everything. So like, I don't know, I guess it would just be like heavier alternative rock and like post-hardcore. But then we did like we liked putting shoegaze elements in, and we liked experimenting. And I think I'm trying to remember, by the time like 1999 when we went and recorded the first Denison Marrs album at Holding Hands, we were real into that Far record that was that Water and Solution.
Water and Solution. Yeah.
And Clarity, Jimmy Eat World, and then do you remember that Swedish band Kent?
Oh my God, Isola. Yes,
that album. If you go back and listen to Holding Hands with those three references, you'll be like, oh, okay, Eric.
Kent was oh my God, don't get me started on Kent.
Yeah,
dude, they should have been so much bigger than they were.
Oh yeah,
dude, that's so sick.
Yeah, all of that, and then those three records, especially when we did the first album.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, what of the records you put out, what are you most proud of? What record are you most proud of, and what song are you most proud of?
Oh man, that's a tough one for Marrs, because each of those albums is kind of like a different era. Because when we did the second album, Holding Hand or World Renown, super Radiohead had taken us over, obviously, and man. And then the third album, we were trying to do like a Pinkerton vibe, like huge power pop rock.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know, man. That's a good question. I'd have to really think about that. But
well, you can.
I think World Renown is like a fan favorite.
Yeah.
Like as a whole, that album. But and I do love that album, but I don't think that's my favorite. I mean, I loved our last one. I don't remember what song that was, because that one we just kind of didn't. We were like, "This is it. This is our last one. So let's just go crazy." And we were like, trying to be Tool or something. We were just like doing crazy math rock stuff, and like we were like, we can do anything we want. Let's just go nuts.
That's awesome.
I mean, there's stuff off that first album that was really, really cool because we were, I don't know, man, like we were just naive, but in a good way, you know?
Yeah.
Like I think a lot of first albums for bands are like that, but some really good riffs and spacey stuff.
Looking back on it, do you feel like you guys, you know, I know you were on what 6x6 and then Floodgate,
Velvet Blue.
Do you feel like that was the path you needed to go, or do you feel like if another option, looking back, do you think you might have went a different route possibly? I mean, I'm not saying in particular to that label. I'm just curious.
So 6x6 was a really cool move. Like I have a lot of good memories from that era, and experiences, memories, and great friends. That's where we met Stavesacre and Puller, and trying to remember if that's where we met Starflyer when we were on the West Coast. That might have been after that, but and then that was the first time we were in like a real studio because we went to Nashville, and it was just like incredible experience.
Awesome.
And then Velvet Blue, that was just like, you know what I mean? Like we didn't know Jeff back then and Starflyer and this, so that was like just mind-blowing rock star Christian alternative. But not, you know, I say that, but I don't mean that as a slant. Like Christian or non, the alternative stuff from Starflyer and Velvet Blue was amazing. You know what I mean? Like it still is. So that was really good. I think so we turned Tooth and Nail down and went with Floodgate. And no disrespect to Floodgate, but I think we should have went with Tooth and Nail. Because up until that point, Floodgate they had only done like CCM stuff. You know what I mean? And then we came, and Velvet Blue, that was like hey, you know, be with Floodgate, I can still work with you, da-da-da. So that was like, we were into that. But then once it all started happening, we kept getting pushed to like CCM stuff. And I was like, dude, that doesn't make sense. Like that is not the crowd that we have built. You know what I mean? And we don't play places like that. And we don't do, you know what I mean? Like we did play churches, but it wasn't like, it was like the churches that did the cool stuff, you know? And we played mostly venues and stuff, like bars and clubs. But so Floodgate treated us really well. Tim Tabor was awesome. I just think we were butting heads a lot and were confused by each other a lot because they weren't able to market us to where we should have been marketed because they were used to what they were doing. You know what I mean? And we weren't able to communicate because we're young, dumb guys. So all we did is throw temper tantrums or whatever. You know what I mean?
No, I get it.
And looking back then, we would have went Tooth and Nail. That was like Amberlin, pre-Under Oath era. So that was like right at a good spot where everything was about to explode again. So we would have been in a good spot for that. So I've always regretted that a little bit, but not in a way of disrespecting Floodgate. Just like I think if we're only speaking about the band, it probably would have been better to go that route.
Absolutely. I get that. I mean,
hopefully nobody's feelings are hurt.
I get it.
I mean it that way.
No, I know. I didn't mean to put you in a pickle. I just was curious, you know. It's kind of one of those things that's like you look back and it's like there's reasons why you do things, and some people regret them and some people don't, you know. It's like I think no matter what, you still left a lasting impression on a lot of people, so either way you know.
And again, Tabor and Floodgate were so good to us, so gracious, and did so much for us. So
awesome.
I am grateful for all that, and I had wonderful experiences and memories and met people, and so it's in the big picture, it's all good. You know what I mean? Like awesome. I love it all.
I feel bad not knowing this, but who did you guys record with on your 3 records? Like who was I guess produced them or engineered them?
The first record, the Holding Hands we did in Nashville, that was do you remember that band Common Children?
Yeah. Oh, Mark Bird.
Okay, Mark Bird. Yeah.
Dude, Hammock.
So he was the producer.
Oh my God, that's
And,
awesome.
yeah, and he was so rad. And if you ever hear this, I don't know how, thank you, Mark, for your patience with a bunch of young know-it-all guys that thought we knew everything. But he was
That's
so
amazing.
patient with us and just helping us get rad tones and stuff. And we're like, no, bro, use this pedal, whatever. He's like, trust me, you know what I mean? But I'm trying to remember the guy. He was so cool and nice. I think his name was Sky. And he shared like a house studio, but it was like the whole house was a studio. Just really cool dude up in Nashville. I don't know what he's doing now, but that was just cool. Like we stayed in a hotel and went there every day, and it was just really. I think we recorded the tape, and then
Wow.
who knows where those tapes are, but it was just a really cool experience. When we did World Renown, we went to Atlanta with Matt Goldman when he was at Little 5 Points and Glow in the Dark when it was at Little 5 Points, Atlanta. That was amazing. I think that was like right when he kind of had moved there, and we went to him because My Hotel Year had recorded their first album with him, and I think it was at Dave's house or something.
Yeah.
So that was cool. And then we did the third album with him. Then Is New Now. We did that same studio, and I think he ended up moving soon after that. So that was really cool. And then the fourth album that nobody knows, we did that here in Lakeland at a buddy's house.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool, man. I that's awesome. That the Mark, I love Hammock. That's like one of my favorite bands. And
I just remember him being so cool, like both of them, but especially Mark. I was just like, he was so cool, dude. I hope I wasn't a total dork around him, but who knows?
There's that True Tunes podcast. I don't know if you've heard it. It's really good, and he's on an episode. His episode's amazing. Like,
okay, we'll check it out.
Listen to it. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
It's really good. It's just really cool to see. Like he talks about like his demons and stuff, and it's just really like an interesting conversation.
Cool. Yeah, dude, he was just legit cool guy. Like I just liked him a lot. Yeah.
That's awesome. Speaking of My Hotel Year, I talked to Travis the other day. I think he's gonna come on.
So, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to have Dave on. I think.
Yes.
Yeah. So
guys are the best.
Cool. I saw Dave at Costco yesterday randomly.
Really?
Yeah, we just ran into each other. I was like, "What's up, dude?"
Awesome.
So, yeah, man. Little Exeter Flood action. Dude, great record.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, okay, Denison Marrs brings you to your ending there, and what's the next step?
So towards the end of Denison Marrs, my brother-in-law Dean, we started doing this. We were living together, and we started doing a thing called the Party People, and it was just like trying to be super raw, kind of garage rock with a little bit of southern twang to it, I guess. But we demoed a couple songs. Well, we were writing songs, and then I talked to Matt Goldman. Oh, so we did this at the Little 5 Point studio too. I was like, dude, tell me when you got like nobody's in and cut me like a really good deal. He'll probably be mad that I told this. And I was like, so I think me and Dean drove up overnight to Atlanta, the studio for that like 1 to 2 days tops. And we recorded like 6 songs, but it was just me and Dean, and we had the songs done. And I don't know if you know this, but Goldman is like incredible drummer, like incredible. And do you know Troy Staines?
No, but I know Jared Bowser knows him. I've heard his name. I'm sure.
Okay.
I might have talked to him at one point, but I don't think I know him.
Super rad dude.
Yeah.
So he was assisting. He was like engineer, whatever, for Matt at that time. So he was there, and he's just like one of those guys that make you sick because he's like music virtuoso. You know what I mean? Like whatever. So they're like, just gonna record everything. They're like, hey, instead, the vibe is real raw and garagey. Like, why don't you just teach us the songs real quick, and we'll record everything live on one take. And I was like, all right, cool. So literally we would go one song at a time. We'd run through it they're like, don't show us too much. Just show us the song. We'll learn it, and then we're just gonna hit record and let it fly. And that way we'll capture just the energy.
That's
but they're
awesome.
like the sickest musicians, so it was like no big deal. And so Matt, he's at the drums. Me and Dean are in the main room with him, and Troy's in the control room playing bass so he could hit record. It's like so
That's
he hit
awesome.
record, count it off like 1, 2 from the control room, and then we would just launch into the song. I swear I remember we only restarted a couple songs. It was that like they were that good. And I was like, Matt, I don't want you to like go crazy mixing this. I want it to be like someone's just in the room with us and we just wrote it. He's like, yeah, that's what I'm feeling too. So he just did like a quick mix, and like mostly it was just like whatever we had captured, and then burned a CD. And like Dean and I were gone like the next day, driving home at night again. Like, and I think I paid him money, and I traded him my Nintendo 64 and GoldenEye, which now is probably he made out a good deal on me. But back then I was like, we please take, when bands stay here, they'll want to play GoldenEye. And he's like, yeah, I guess so, whatever. I'm like, how am I gonna eat with this thing? You know what I mean? But
yeah.
Probably sell it on eBay, make a ton of money now. But
I bet.
that's so anyways, I got the CD. It's like 4 or 6 songs, and I sent it to Cloud, and I'm like, Cloud, do you want to put this out? And this was like right at the time when like Strokes were hitting and the Hives were hitting, so it was like all this crazy raw, and like White Stripes were just hitting. And he's like, I love this is crazy, what is this is not Denison Marrs. I'm like, no, this is the thing me and Dean are doing. And he's like, well, who's in the band? I'm like, well, it's just me and Dean, and then Matt and Troy record it, but they're not in the band. He's like, well, I want to be in the band. I'm like, all right, cool, I don't care. And he's like, we need a drummer. And I'm like, all right. And he goes, Adam. I'm like, from Goaty Hook? He's like, yeah. He's like, he's gonna be the drummer. I'm like, okay, sounds good.
That's amazing.
Yeah, like we never didn't play or anything. Like it's just like we're in the band. I'm like, sounds good. So I designed the sleeve, pressed it, released it, and then we're like, all right, let's play. I think we played at Cornerstone, might have been like our first time playing together. And I think it was. So like me, Dean, Cloud, and Adam, I think we talked Amber Lynn into letting us borrow their gear to practice, which that would not happen these days because everything's so locked down. But you remember at Old Cornerstone, Bushnell, like you remember that random little farmhouse that was out in the middle of like parking or something?
Yeah.
We went in there and there's power. So we set up in there and we're practicing right before our set. And like kids were like hearing us and coming in and like, what are you doing? Like, what's going on? It was blazing hot. We're all sweating. And then we literally like, all right, that sounds good enough. Here, put it back in Amberlin's trailer, and then played on the stage. We were on like the little stage outside the food court or whatever that was. I forgot what that stage was. Just played on the stage, like the gear that's on the stage, like the house gear or whatever. And that was like our first time playing. It was super fun. Adam like crushed his knuckle and blood's going everywhere all over the snare drum like he always did. And from there I just booked like East Coast tours randomly.
That's sweet.
And somehow they would Cloud and Adam would come out and tour with us, or if Adam couldn't make it, we'd have someone else drum. It was just always like we'd grab a friend and be like, come on, we're gonna go play some Party People jams.
That's awesome.
So backing up a little bit, like Marrs, we toured with Starflyer a bunch, and that's how I'd met Cloud and everything. And then Party People, we toured with Starflyer, especially like East Coast stuff. Trying to remember, like it's all blur in my head, but like Party People did like some little stuff like Midwest. Like I remember us playing some show, and like Living Sacrifice was playing. I think Under Oath played, but it was like back when
Dallas.
Dallas. This is a funny story if they ever hear this. They'll deny it, but I remember, or maybe they won't. I remember them coming in like, oh, what are you guys doing here? Like, oh, we're playing. I remember they all smelled really good, which was weird on tour. Like they were all super clean and like, you guys smell so good. And like, yeah, dude, like Bed Bath & Beyond. they're like their hair's all perfect and like they smell awesome, and we're like nasty. Like we live in a van, party people guys like stank. So I don't know why that stuck in my head. we played some random places, random shows with people because we were just having a good time. But
did you get to play with anyone big? Like I know Starflyer's pretty big, but anyone pretty big?
No, like that Let Me Sacrifice. That was it was like it wasn't a church. It was like it's like a weird. What are those like Moose Lodges and all that stuff? But it was like
Eagles
big.
Lodge or
Yeah, and it was
BFW.
Dude, it was like middle of nowhere. I don't know if party people did. We were so random. I mean, we played with like Pedro the Lion at a theater in Texas, and so, I mean that's pretty big.
Yeah.
That might be the biggest.
Yeah,
if I'm remembering right. But yeah, touring with Starflyer, that's all I cared about. I just loved being around. I just love being around Jason. He's always been such a funny, cool dude. So if I was around Jason, I was like, I don't care who else is around.
Dude, that's sick. I would love to meet him, man. That would be so cool.
Man, he is like, I had such a preconceived image of him before I ever met him. I thought he was gonna be like this way cooler than, holier, like cooler than thou, California alt guy. And he is, but not, you know what I mean? Like he doesn't, he's not a poser. He's not trying to be anything. He just is cool. And I don't know how to put that any other way. And he's also one of the funniest guys, but not like silly. Like he is dry humor, delivery perfect, and he doesn't laugh. Like he doesn't smile. So you're just like, is this guy joking? But he's definitely joking. It's definitely hilarious.
I love that.
And like, I was so stoked because I just thought he was gonna be like some weirdo, you know what I mean? Like some weirdo California arty guy. Turns out he's like one of the raddest dudes. He's one of my favorite people in my life that I've ever met.
I think most people that are fans just like, not that, that's good to hear, because it's like, man, he's just such an influential person, and he's just, just a cool ass dude.
Yeah. He's just always been cool. He's always been gracious. Always been chill. I mean, so like D-Marrs, we had gone out West Coast playing some festival in LA or something, and Cloud, this is our second album, and Cloud's like, hey, we're gonna go to this barbecue. Like, all right, cool. We get to this house out in California somewhere. It's total normal middle class neighborhood, and we go in the backyard for this barbecue, and all of Prayer Chain is there.
Oh my god!
All of like Starflyer and like a couple other guys, like maybe some of the Violet Burning guys or something. And dude, I remember all of us, we just like went to the fence and we're like just standing there like holding drinks, like total cliche like TV series, like like looking at everybody but trying not to look at them. And they'd come up like, hey guys, they're total nice. We're like, oh my god, like couldn't speak, like couldn't get the words out.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and it was like just a normal backyard cookout for them. And then they're like, hey, come inside. And they're all at this table. All the band members are playing skipjack. I don't know if you ever.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's like this blackjack hybrid game that they played on tour all the time. It took everybody's money. And they're like, sit down. And I was like, I don't know how to play. And Jason's like, don't worry about it. And he's like, slides me a 20. He's like, just bet with this. Like, I don't even know what I'm doing. He's like, don't worry about it. And like, dude, I'm just sitting there holding cards like, oh my god, that's Tim Tabor, that's Jason Martin,
jeez,
that's Wayne Everett, that's Eric Campazon. Oh my god, like I was just freaking out.
That's incredible. What an awesome memory. Like,
it was, and they were all just so chill and gracious dudes. Like I was like, oh my god, I couldn't breathe. It was so rad.
That's so cool, man. I'm insanely jealous, but that's so cool.
Such a music nerd, man.
I know. It's like,
I can't help it.
Dude, but it's so cool. It's like every one of us that listen to that, that's like the dream of dreams. That's sick. That's so cool.
Stars, man. And I remember like meeting Stavesacre. I'm just like,
I know, right?
Oh, you're Stacey. Oh my god.
I worked the game when I first time met Mark. Ryan hooked me up with the game.
Yeah.
State, and I text Ryan. I was like, "Is Mark Solomon working with me today?" And he's like, "Oh yeah." I'm like, "Are you freaking kidding me? Like, this is amazing."
Yeah.
And so,
I
of course, got to talk to him, and now we talk, here and there. But it's like, could not
5
believe
minutes
that.
from me.
I
We
was
hang
like,
out all the time.
I bet.
We do a movie night every week. It's funny.
That's so cool. Well, tell him
Yeah.
I said hello.
I will.
And tell him to come upon the podcast.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I texted him about it. He said he'd be down. So
Yeah, it'd probably be. I mean, he's like Sunday Night Football now, so probably like after
Oh,
football
yeah.
season when it's chill. Dude, he's
Well,
like he's in the booth.
Is he real? Is he like the? Oh, that's so
He's
cool.
like head of or tech or whatever in the booth with Chris Collinsworth and
Wow.
is it?
Who was it? Yeah, it's yeah, I don't remember. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like he made it. He's there.
I'm glad he went on with that. I really enjoyed it, but I just got tired of it after a while. I was like,
oh, it's rough, dude.
Yeah, I mean, and
me and you did that one game at FSU, and I was like, this sucks.
That's right, we did work together. What game was that?
It was like I think it was a bowl game or something. It was
That's
FSU.
right.
And remember, all the band comes down and trample everything, and we're getting yelled at.
I completely forgot about that. Yes,
it was rough. And then I did games at the Buck Stadium, and it wasn't as bad, but it was still. It's just rough.
It's
fun
I mean? For like at the beginning, and then you're walking around, and then when you really I got to be there till like 2 a.m. tearing stuff down. It's like
and you don't know what you're doing, and nobody's helping, and no one's telling you what to do. So you're just like, you're like, oh, okay, I guess.
That's hysterical. I completely forgot we worked that game together. That's hilarious.
It was miserable.
I know. I always tell my wife, I'm like, when in the past when I was like dating her, we were getting married, I would still get games, and I would do them. And I'd 5 minutes in and be like, why did I sign up for this? Like,
I know, right? You're like $300 and you're like, it's not worth it. It's not worth
That's
it.
exactly it. It's like the money. I look at the money and then I'm like, God, this sucks.
I'd rather 5 minutes be like, keep the $300. Please let me know.
I'd rather be at home, turn the TV off, have a beer at home, go to the bathroom. I know.
I'll eat PB&J.
Yes.
I don't need money.
I know. Well, I will say at the time I did need some of that, but now
yeah.
In a better place. Let's just say that. So that's hilarious. So after party people, what was the next step after that?
So next came the Dark Romantics. Oh, let me say one more thing for fun is because of Dean Marrs and party people, but me and Dean got to play. I like weaseled our way into a Starflyer tour. Like one tour, I was like, Jason, just all you gotta do is bring Frank. Come to Lakeland. Me and Dean will know the songs. You just give us the song list. We'll know them. We'll practice one day, maybe two, whatever you want to do, and then we'll play. Like party people open, and then me and Dean will play in the band. He's like, oh, that sounds good. I was like, you don't pay us because we'll make money off the party people. You don't pay us. You guys keep all the money. And he loved that. And then we did like an East Coast run, super fun. And it was a dream for me and Dean because we were playing Starflyer with Jason and Frank Lynn on stages. You know what I mean? Like it was incredible. Yeah. And we played that at the end of that tour we played Cornerstone, Florida, which is pretty cool.
Yes.
With Starflyer.
That's so
there was a lot of funny memories and stories on that. Jason's thing is he used to like to bet anybody on tour, like food bets. So like he once got Daniel from Denison Marrs, like he bet him like $20 he couldn't eat a whole can of like wet dog food, and then I mean it was just sick stuff like that, like 20 candy bars, and like so people are always sick the next day and stuff. But Jason, even if he didn't care if he lost money or not, because it was like entertainment for him to watch these younger dudes just annihilating themselves. So, and I figured that out after a long time. Like, oh, he didn't care if he lost because he was always winning. You know what I mean?
That's hysterical.
Yeah. So, anyways, we got to do Starflyer. I was like,
Dude,
you know.
absolutely. But
And we played Atlanta, and that's where that little EP, the Never
Yes.
Play Covers, that's where it came. That was, I don't know if that was the Earl. I forgot what venue that was. It's in Little 5 Points, or it used to be, or something like that. But Jason just liked how it sounded because the guy had recorded. He's like, "Can I have that?" And then he gave him the track. So Jason kind of tweaked it just a little bit, like in the mix. And then he's like, "E, give me a cover. Like, I'm just gonna do it in a little slip disc thing." And he's like, "Oh, I want you to put that picture that we took." So I think he was just being super cool. Like, he didn't have to do that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but he's like, he wanted to make sure he used a picture of me and Dean in the band. And I was like, dude, you're so rad. Like, what a
That's so
good
cool.
dude. Like, to kind of, capture that moment.
Absolutely.
So anyways, yeah. So then came Dark Romantics, and there's kind of like a lull there, and I didn't like Dean and I were kind of trying new styles, new genres and stuff, and
Yeah.
I think we demoed like demoed maybe 2 or 3 songs at home, and I sent them to Jason to see what he thought of them, and he's like, "E, these are cool. I'll tell you what, if you guys, fly out here, you can stay at my house for a weekend, and we'll demo these songs again, but I'll produce them and mix them and track them." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "You don't even have to pay me." He just wanted to hang out, and he thought the songs were cool. So, of course, we did that. We made like a little vacation out of it. Like, we went out early, and then the wives came out like after the weekend, and we spent a few more days hanging out or whatever. So then I had like 3 songs recorded, produced, mixed by Jason Martin to be able to shop with. And man, I don't remember who pointed us to Luho Records, because I didn't know Eric, I didn't know Luho. I remember sending them CD and a Polaroid picture of us, like a band picture, and just sent that with the CD, nothing else. And I remember, I don't know if you know Eric Oakland, super cool, and Jocelyn, his wife, she worked at Tooth and Nail for a while, and then they were married, and he's running Luho, and he was putting out stuff like these bands. He had done Raft the Dead Monkeys, and or no, was it Raft? What was after that? Suffering in the Heat of Thieves.
Yeah,
That's what he was doing. Stuff like that, and DC stuff. And I remember him telling me, he's like, I thought it was cool, but then Jocelyn was like, "Hey, that's Eric from Denison Marrs. You should probably put that out, because you might be able to sell a couple for what it's worth." Like, you know what I mean? Like, you could probably get a couple sales off of this. So he's like, "All right, that's cool." And I thought that was hilarious, because he was always honest with me, but in like a joking way.
Yeah.
It was like his way of going like, "Dude, I didn't really care, because my wife told me to do it." Which I thought was awesome. I thought it was hilarious. So yeah, we signed with Luho, and they gave us a little budget, and we went back to Jason. And Jason's like, "All right, cool, for with this budget, I'll take these 5 days off from work, so you guys can come from weekend to weekend, and we'll record the whole week." And we stayed in his loft in his house. He was so gracious. Julie was so awesome to let these 2 dudes stay in their house and drink their coffee, and
just Bon Voyage shows every night.
I know, right? It was, dude, it's so trippy to be in Starflyer's house, and there's Bon Voyage Julie just walking around, housewife. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just looking at him like, you're the guy who wrote all the songs I love. You're the girl that some of these songs are about.
Yep.
And I listened to your albums that guy wrote and you sang on, and here's some of your kids. Like, how cool is this? And they're like, "Hey, look at this picture I drew of you," and I'm just like, it was such a weird alternate existence. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But they were so kind and so wonderful. And then, dude, hang out with Jason for, what is that, 9 days straight, and him just being hilarious and an awesome producer and getting guitar tones in like 2 seconds. And he's like, "No, play on my Jazz Master." And I'm like, "Oh my that's like, you know what I mean? Like that's
not
the
worthy.
Jazzmaster.
We're not
You know what I'm
worthy.
saying? Yeah, and he's like just putting it in our hands, and I'm like, he's like, yeah, those on gold or whatever. I'm like, oh my God. You know what I mean? Like what?
That's incredible.
Yeah, like we did that, and like we did like a single EP and went on tour, and then we didn't stop touring from like 2006 2009. We just toured nonstop, coast to coast, which is what Denison Marrs did too. But Dark Romantics, we did band and everything. We did like family band. Like my wife was the bass player, Dean's wife, which is my wife's sister, she was keyboards, and then Mark Solomon's wife was drums. It was like total family band touring, and we did two albums and like an EP or something, and just toured nonstop. New York, Boston, everywhere.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. And we had my wife and our daughter, so we would bring like a friend as a nanny, or my mom, whoever was available.
That's awesome.
And my daughter loved it, dude. Like, she just watched movies and hung out with the band, because she's with her mom and dad and aunts and uncles and grandma. Like,
yeah.
She didn't need anything else, and she didn't want to be anywhere else. And like I remember us being in we were playing like downtown Philly, and I remember like we're on the strip, and it's like a Friday night, there's people everywhere, and we're unloading the trailer, and like first box is huge, like a merch box, but it's clear. And we pull it out and put it on the sidewalk so we can get the other stuff. And all these people are stopping. They're like, yo, what is this? And I just so used to it. I turn and look, and like the lid had popped, and it was all like her My Little Pony collection. It was just like, so like here's this band in downtown Philly, huge box of My Little Pony and like castles and stuff. And these people are like, what are y'all? What are y'all? What are you doing? I'm like, oh. And I have to stop and look like a street preacher explaining to
That's
people
hilarious.
like, no, we're a family and we're touring. This is my daughter's toys.
Aww.
We're not weird. We're not a bunch of weirdos.
Not a freak. That's hilarious.
Yeah, we're not freaks.
That's hysterical.
Yeah, but that was cool, man. Like everything I had learned from Mars, I put in a Dark Romantics, and I was like, I'm not gonna make the same mistakes. We're gonna treat this not as a business, but you know what I mean. Like we're gonna have goals, like on level, like we're gonna hit this level, hit this, do this, and if we get to where we're can't break the next goal, we're not gonna kill ourselves and get burnt out and mad at each other, because we're family. So I don't want that to happen, like normal bands, So by the second album, whatever that was, we just kind of weren't making headway anymore, and then we got pregnant with our son. So we're like, this feels like this is a good time. Yeah. So, and everybody was cool. Like nobody was mad. No, everyone's like, yeah, we're good. We had fun. Like
that's cool.
That was
you get
actually
to experience
cool.
that with your wife, though. That's a really cool experience. Like, and like the family dynamic of it all. I think that's really cool. A lot of wives at home don't get to experience what their husbands or whoever go on. That's really cool. She got to see the other side of it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of, I've heard husbands, boyfriends talk about stuff like they're like, I go on tour and I'm in these cities and I'm experiencing stuff and I don't have my wife with me or whatever, you know what I mean? And like, so she's at home bummed, missing him. Yep. Oh, you're in New York. Oh, you're in Colorado. You're in Denver. You're like, what's it like? Oh, you should be here to see this, but you're not, So all that time in Denison Marrs, I saw this stuff. Finally back on the road, going to the same places with my wife, and I'm like, I get to show her all the cool stuff.
Yeah.
And then I was also older and wiser, so if we went and played in New York, I would plan it to where we were there from like Thursday to Monday, and we would play Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but then have off 2 days. Yeah. So we could explore, not just like when you're a band, you show up, you load in, you play, you're out. Yeah. So I'm like, instead of us killing ourselves on a Monday night somewhere, playing for nobody and being miserable, let's just stay and hang out in the city, for a day or two, and then go pick it back up or whatever.
Well,
so that worked out good.
That's wisdom, my friend.
It was, man. A little bit.
So after what? So Dark Romantics. What year? What year did you guys end that? Like what? Bro, when was that?
I think that was like 2006 to 2009. So we were like demoing 2005, and then we pretty much stopped after 2009.
And then, so when did you start MrENC?
It was like it was soon after that, probably between 2009 2010, and that was like we were just chilling. And if I'm not creating, man, I start to get depressed.
Yeah.
Like my wife calls me out on it. She's like, "What are you doing, babe? Like, I can tell your vibe real down. Like, you need to be doing some creation." So I just started messing around, and I recorded a song, and I sent it to Aaron Marsh because he lives here in town. We've been old buddies, and I was like, "Hey, how much can I pay you to mix this thing and not make it sound like crap like I will make it? Like, can you make it sound cool?" So he like kind of post-produced it and then mixed it, and I was like, "Oh, this sounds rad." And so I think that was like late 2009 or something. That was still MySpace was still kicking, and I remember just putting it on MySpace and like, here's the thing. And I kind of kept MrENC secret for a little while. Like, I don't know why. I was just like, just having fun. Like, I don't want it to be Eric Collins of so and so or whoever, whatever that's worth. So I was like, I'll just call it this and be quiet about it.
Yeah.
And then I did another song, but this time I went and recorded with Aaron, and that one was cool. And then I think like Dark Romantics, when Dean and I did a little EP thing, we did a song or two with Aaron at his house studio, and it was super fun. So that's why a couple of years later I went back to Aaron, like, "Hey man, I'm doing this thing, help me out." So he was super gracious with that, and just have fun. I think after those couple songs, I did the 2 songs, and that's when I hit up Sunbears guys. I'm like, "Hey, I like what y'all are doing.
Yeah.
I haven't seen y'all in a while. I got my buddy Keith down here in Tampa is a record label. I'm going to talk him into doing a split 7-inch." And like, the guys were cool about it. And that's how we did that split 7-inch. I think I talked him into doing like a split cassette. And Keith was always like, "Dude, where are you getting these ideas?" Because nobody was doing cassettes yet again. Like that. He's like, "Why are you wanting to do this?" I'm like, "I just got a feeling, dude. Like, we got to do this cassette. I think it'll be cool." Did that, and then did some other stuff, and then kind of like right at first I was kind of wanting to be like Beck, like a hip hop kind of alternative pop kind of thing, and then I just kind of got bored and was like back into guitars like full on, and just recorded everything myself at my house, drums, everything, went going nuts.
Yeah.
And just kind of grown from there into full band. So now I made Dean come back and play stuff. He's played every instrument for me. He's always down for whatever. He's so good. He's my ace of my sleeve.
Yeah. It's awesome, man.
And now I just got Casey and Bryce from Vanguard Room Studio here, and I got full band, and we're having fun.
Who's playing with you now?
It's Dean on guitar, and then Bryce is drums. He's a producer at Vanguard Room, and Casey is kind of like management at Vanguard Room, and he's starting to produce some stuff, and he plays bass.
That's really cool, man.
And they're amazing. Like, I am definitely the worst musician in my own band. Like, no question.
That's hysterical. That's awesome, though. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to step back just a second, because my wife would kill me if I didn't ask this. Because it's funny, because I told her that you and I had been friends for a while, and she's like, "Wait, Denison Marrs like send me an angel?" And I was like,
"Oh yeah."
And I was like, "Well, yeah, they did a cover of that. They didn't write that song." And she's like, "Well, no, I know." She's like, she's like, "That's one song I'll never forget. I was obsessed with it for the longest time." So I just was curious, what brought that whole thing on?
I don't remember why we decided to do I think we were trying to figure out covers, and that really wasn't like it wasn't on a compilation or anything. Like, because back then labels were starting to do like punk goes pop and all that stuff, kind of compilations, but it wasn't anything like that. We were just like, we want to do a cover. I think the first thing we had covered was "Stars" by Hum, but that was like modern, like that. It wasn't like that was they were literally playing that song at the same time. But I think, do you remember that bike movie Rad?
Oh, I love that movie.
Okay, So I grew up on that movie. Like, if I was sick and stayed home from school, I made my dad rent me that movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, there's this one part in this movie that I've always loved. It's at this dance, and the guy and the girl freestyle on bikes, but it's like a bike dance. Yeah, it's so ridiculous.
I remember that part.
And I'm like, the song is this 80s song, Singing Angel, and it is so incredible. And I played it for the guys, and they're like, I don't think they cared. They're like, yeah, that's cool, man, whatever. I'm like, let's rewrite it in our style. And so we just like worked on it really hard. I think we did that. I think we released it. We released it twice in 2 different versions, but the one that matters is like the 7-inch that Velvet Blue put out, and that's. I can't remember if we re-recorded it and put it on the album. Didn't we? I think it's on Then Is New Now or something. Yeah. I think we re-recorded it with Goldman because we changed like one little part. It's not a big deal, but it sounds a little better. But the 7-inch was just cool because it's freaking 7-inch, and that blew our minds. Like, who are we? Some kids from Lakeland, Florida. Why do we get a cool 7-inch? But
that's cool.
Yeah, it was just like, and I was super into 80s alternative because my wife and Stephanie, which is Mark's wife, they've been best friends since school, like middle school. So they always went to like 80s nights and stuff. So they got me into 80s alt, and also being around the Smell of Wonder guys. They were like Cure heads and stuff. Yep. You know, I know you're a Cure head.
Oh yeah.
So I was just like enamored with 80s alternative because I didn't really know about it when I was listening to 90s alternative. Like, so to go back, I'm like, oh my God, this era of music is incredible.
I know.
It's like, it's way more emotional than any emo was, you know, and I love emo, don't get me wrong, first wave. Yeah. But, so I was like, dudes, let's pick this 80s song, Singing Angel, and let's rewrite it a little bit so we can actually play it, but also we'll put like riffs in it and stuff. And that's just where it came from.
That's awesome. That's really cool. It's a great song.
We played that at Furnace Fest last year.
Dang.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm so bummed I missed that. I was like, I had an opportunity to go to Cincinnati and see the Jaguars lose to the Bengals with some buddies. And so I couldn't pick I couldn't go 2 weekends in the same month. It just was one of those, like.
True.
You know,
I made the guys learn it. I'm like, look, asked if we could do a Denison Marrs reunion, but I couldn't get the guys together because I thought about it. But it turned out to be Joe's, the bass player's, like 40th birthday or something.
Oh,
so he couldn't do it. So he's like, well, Green Sea, do you want to play? I'm like, yeah, dude, of course. And I was like, well, there's gonna be a lot of like people that knew Denison Marrs. I was probably at least play one song. Yeah. And then Dean's like, well, dude, you know what song you got to play? It's not even a Denison Marrs song. I was like, but it kind of is. I'm like, that's the song, though.
That's awesome.
So we played it. It was funny. It was cool. It felt good to play, actually. I missed playing it.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
It was cool.
Sorry, I went backwards. I just forgot to ask that earlier.
No, it's all good.
Yeah. So back to MrENC. I know you just put a new jam out, which I really love, by the way.
Thanks, thank you.
Are you gonna do a new full length or what? Or what's the plan?
Dude, I don't know. Like, so that new single, there's like 3 other songs with that. So I'm trying to figure out what to do, and then, I mean, I've written a whole plenty, like way more than that full length, but I just need to do something. I need to figure out what I'm gonna do, and then do the plan. Stick to the plan.
You gonna do Velvet Blue still?
I hope so. I mean, Jeff's open for whatever, so I just need to do something. You know, like life starts to happen, and then you're like, whoa, dude, like 6 months just went by. What's going on? You know what I mean? So, like, I'm like, I swear I just wrote that song and demoed it last week, but it's like 6 months ago. I'm like, what? You know?
That's nuts.
But I have been thinking about that lately, and I want to get the guys together and get in and do some stuff. But
yeah, man. Yeah, and we'll try.
Yeah, I've been revisiting. Like, that new song is trying to. I mean, there's definitely some Failure and Hum and Marrs vibes in there.
Love that. That's what I like about it. It just reminded me of that.
Yeah, on purpose. Awesome. I did it on purpose.
You're such a sweetie.
Just for you.
So, yeah, I know you texted me the other day about doing a show up here, so I'll definitely see if we can get something set up. That would be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be fun, man. Like, anymore, dude. I tell the guys, I'm like, I book shows. I like to play. I still love to play. I'm like, but mainly I just try to book where I have friends so I can see friends.
That's the
way. Like, I haven't been to Jackson in a while. I want to go see all my buddies.
Dude, I was gonna say, I know you guys had talked about coming up here for like a dudes weekend or something. I know that got scrapped or whatever, but
that was a little while ago. They got scrapped, stuff like family stuff. But yeah, that's literally it. It's like book a show so we can eat somewhere delicious and see friends. So
yeah, well, that's
I'm like Jacksonville.
Dude,
I gotta come up and see everybody.
I'm pumped. We'll make it happen.
I hope it works.
Awesome, dude. Well, I appreciate you hanging out with me and talking, man. You know, it's been a while, and I know it's, you know, I know we haven't talked for a while, but I just really appreciate your time, man.
I appreciate the interest. I appreciate it all. It's super fun. I like reminiscing. I like a lot of good memories, man. I got nothing but love for old times.
That's awesome, man. That's really cool. Sweet, man. Well, listen, I'll talk to you soon, and hope things go well for you, and get a show booked up here for you. So
good luck with the podcast. I'm enjoying it.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
Yeah, dude.
All right, I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye.
Hello. I would like to thank you, the listener, for coming back and listening to this latest episode, as well as the kind words and texts I have received while on this journey. I would like to also thank the incredibly talented and awesome Eric Collins for joining me on the latest episode of the Who's to Say podcast. It's always fun to reminisce about the old days and what the future holds. Please check out Mr. ENC's new jam, Come On, Let's Get Down, on the amazing and enigmatic label Velvet Blue Music. I'm really excited for the upcoming guests coming to the podcast in the upcoming months. All the music links will be in the show notes below. Until then, thank you again for listening. With that said, who's to say?